In the far future, where wars are fought with the might of battle mechs, Without Question tells the tale of Kanji Chistu as he struggles to keep Clan Jade Falcon alive in the occupation zone his predecessor abandoned in her failed bid to conquer Terra. Though it's a sequel to Brian Young's award-winning novel A Question of Survival, Without Question serves as a perfect on-ramp for anyone interested in jumping into the Ill Clan era and the current Battletech timeline. The new Khan of Clan Jade Falcon has to fight for the very soul of his clan and their stronghold of Sudaden as Clan Hell's horses invade, and they experience attacks from within and without. With shocking twists and turns, the latest installment of the Battletech mythos will have you hanging on by the edge of your seat. Releasing May 15th, Without Question is available for pre-order now, and you won't want to miss it.
Welcome to another Tuesday Newsday. It's good to see everyone here in chat. Aaron, it's good to see you.
It is wonderful to see you as well.
Aaron is one of my favorite people. From before my Catalyst days, from before his Catalyst days, in the glory days of a whole 5 years ago. But yeah, it's
fun though.
But I'm really excited to talk to you about stuff today. You've had a lot going on. You always have a lot going on, but it'll be fun to talk about some of that stuff here. But first, of course, we have our news for the week. So a couple of things. Frostpunk, the RPG, we're gearing up for the launch on that on August 6th. So you can follow the link for the Kickstarter, which is in the description. I'm going to go pull it real quick. Whee! Follow the Kickstarter. We're pretty excited about this. 11-Bit is going to be starting to promote this. We had 2 actual plays last week, one on Gen Con TV, one here on our channel. And it was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think this is going to be well received. At Gen Con, I'm pretty excited because we're bringing back the old storage tower scaffolding. And we're going to put on 2 sides of it, the Frostpunk, the generator, a banner of it. And we're going to see if we can finagle any sound effects or fog machine or anything like that. So it would be a lot of fun to be able to promote Frostpunk that way. For Kickstarter news for Battletech, I know I saw a couple questions about international. I did give an update last week. That's all I have right now. I know that QML is trying to get me more news this week, but not in time for Tuesday, unfortunately. So we will have more out as soon as we can. We are also going to be getting a pledge or a backer update out. We had talked a couple of weeks ago about the salvage boxes, the mech salvage boxes that ended up having some vehicles in them, about 6,000 out of 300,000. So our solution at that time was everything moving forward was going to get an additional salvage box. Our solution we now have for the ones that are that were already processed or packaged or whatever the case may be, if you do not get that extra salvage box, you can either get $8 in storage credit, which is the salvage box amount. Wait, no, hold on. $8 refund. Or a $15 store credit. Basically just if you got, if you need to, let us know. We will, also be getting a list hopefully to plug that in automatically, but that might happen slowly. So feel free to reach out. Also, I know there's been a couple of questions about damages or like weird funky versions or something like that that you might have gotten in a package. If that happens, we are working on a complete parts listing for QML, so that they'll be able to identify which parts to send if something is damaged or something like that. So that list is being compiled for them as we speak. And also in Battletech news, we have 2 new things for fiction. We have The Shadow of the Dragon by Craig A. Reed, who's here in chat. It is live, so you can get it. Our link is, once again, in the description, but I'll grab it for you so that you can go get your copy of In the Shadow of the Dragon. And then we also have, finally, I know people have been asking for this for a while, we have a new audiobook. So we have Heir to the Dragon, and this is now available on Audible. It's a really long link, so sorry about that, but I didn't get a chance to make a bit.ly or anything, so. Super long link for you. Oh, it's 116 characters too long. Oh no. So open up the description of the video and you'll be able to find it there, guys. Whoops. Gosh, we are 2 weeks to Gen Con, and that's pretty wild. Next week I should have the complete list of events from Michael Ciaravella. He's just finalizing a couple things and doesn't want to promise something that we can't deliver on. So next week I'll be able to talk about that. Also next week, Randall and I will be heading to San Diego Comic-Con. We'll be taking some meetings for the industry and stuff like that. So pretty excited about that. It's Prime Day. Don't forget that it's Prime Day.
I won't forget. We've been very busy.
Aaron's not allowed to forget. Aaron works for Amazon, so
We do.
I just
gotta pay the day job.
I wasn't planning on talking about that on this stream, but I have all my notes for the day like on a paper in front of me, and in all capitals, like colored over 15 times, says Prime Day, so that I can go shopping. So
If you want to catch a deal, now's the day to do it.
Awesome. All right, so gosh, I think that is all the news. I'm just glancing through all of my other notes to see if I am missing anything. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you guys a little, since it's a news light day, and obviously we haven't talked enough about Battletech yet. So my team is officially starting their work on Clan Invasion, on the custom characters. What this looks like is, well, it's a disaster. So basically we have all but 2 reports that we're tracking down. So we're still tracking down those last 2. Basically, some of the complications with custom characters is there was no limit placed on it, and we did not anticipate 2,500 people wanting that. And then including in add-ons, we have over 6,000 custom characters to fulfill. It's wild. So basically, if I'm remembering everything from my meetings last week correctly, so bear with me if I'm kind of stumbling through this. So basically, during the campaign, you could get the reward level that had the custom characters. You could get the add-on level that had the custom characters. You could get a prominence upgrade. So some people have that. There's also art involved. I think maybe as part of the prominence upgrade, maybe that's separate. That's another list that we need to look at. Then, so that's just on Kickstarter. Then on Backerkit, it's anyone that changed something from what they did on the Kickstarter to include or disclude one of those. There's also any new backers that went through the Backerkit to do that. And then there's the whole fun scenario where our pledge manager at that time was Crowdox, which doesn't exist anymore. It was bought by Backerkit. So then we have to contact Backerkit to go get those old reports that haven't been manipulated by anyone so we can see the raw data. And then there's also a separate list because we started doing for anyone that was like, you know what, I'm good, just give me store credit. We did refunds for a whole bunch. Also, there's another list that has 400 that have already been completed. Oh, and then there's also a list on that's a Google form because not only was it not enough that we did 6,000 of these, but then Lauren was like, let's ask 50 questions about their characters. And it's like, oh my God, no. So that one we're going to light on fire and we're just going to collect because we got a lot of comments and stuff just saying like, I want to make a change, I want to make a change, I want to make a change. So we're just gonna nix that one. But once we have all of those comparisons and can build a master spreadsheet, which is what we're working on now, then we'll go through our survey from there and reopen that for any selections there. So this is why it's been a like up until now, the complexity of this is why everyone's been like, just I want to back away slowly from this and I don't want to touch it. It's been a mess. The two reports we need, one is the original raw data from Kickstarter itself on the because after 2 years, Kickstarter blocks your access to the backer lists, so you have to go ask them for it. And we want a raw one because we don't want one that anyone could have messed with. We want just the basics, so we mess with it. And then the other one that we're still missing is the CrowdOx one. Well, one of the CrowdOx ones we were able to get all the add-ons and stuff like that, but the pledge levels, whenever they were trying to run their report, it was zeroing out and wasn't running the report. So we have to try to track down, like, does anyone from our team have that, like, original data set? So that's part of why this has been just a nightmare and needed time and resources to go with it. And so we are now making that time. We have someone designated to set that in motion. So more to come on that, and we'll get a backer update as soon as we have news beyond the we're still collecting all the data. So more will come from that soon. All right, I've talked enough on that stuff now. So Aaron, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. So Aaron, for those who don't know Aaron Dykstra is the Shadowrun missions developer. So all of the fun missions you get to play at cons or Shadowrun missions online or however you get your missions, they are coordinated and often a lot of contribution from Aaron. So thank you for your work and thank you for your sacrifice, as technology would say, I think.
It's pretty accurate. I have been sacrificed on the altar of taste. Yeah, it's a huge rewarding process of giving a chance for people to write that never would normally have a chance to write, and then like walking them through the process, but then also getting a chance for them to see players play their stuff, and that's just a lot of fun. And
Cool.
that's the main reason why I do it. I really love that.
Well, let's start at the beginning. When did you
Sure.
get into Shadowrun?
I accidentally started in 2015. So I was a latecomer. I was doing demo agents work from a different company, and a bunch of us were at a convention. We had no players, so it was like a dozen GMs. So we just all started playing each other's games, and I got a chance to try Shadowrun and kind of fell in love with it right then and there. And then from
Awesome.
there, yeah, I joined the demo team. I showed up at the next Gen Con, asked if I could join, and I've been in the demo team ever since.
Cool. So you've gotten to play at a bunch of cons and run games and stuff like that. So did you start contributing to missions or Shadowrun in general before you became missions developer?
Yeah. So it was funny. At some point along the lines, I was like, "This is an interesting world. I would love to contribute to it." And so, all right, well, how am I going to do that? I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Like, I don't know anybody in the company. I don't know anything about publishing. We didn't have Hollow Streets then. I think Hollow Streets now is just a huge boon to anybody who wants to contribute. Uh, so I reached out to a bunch of people, and primarily through the demo agent team. The demo agent team is kind of like a family almost. Um, we just don't get to see each other as much, and we probably like each other more. Um, but yeah, I asked around, and I was too late for I can't remember which year it was. I think it was 2018. But I was able to do playtests for them, and I would write up a huge list of notes based on the playtest. And when I finished writing those up and I sent those to the coordinator at the time, which was Danny Oliver, he was like, "You're gonna apply to write." And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about this. Like, no, you're going to apply to write when this opens. And so I was super excited to get my first shot. And so yeah, I wrote a mission, and then I started helping with proofreading and helping organize playtests. And then when Danny decided to try something new, I got to put the mantle on my shoulders as the mission dev.
Awesome. So what does that look like being missions developer? What is your I don't want to say day to day, but what's the job?
It's a big job. It's pretty funny. You can put in what you want into it. It definitely is an act of love. Um, uh, Danny's like, well, it's the same things you always did, which was not true. There's way more work that Danny did behind the scenes that I had no idea on. So we work on a yearly basis. Conventions are our main output. Between the two big conventions, being Origins and Gen Con, I make an open call for writers, which we have going on now. After Gen Con, I go through and I curate my list of writers for the year. It really depends on how many writers we get. I've generally got a minimum of 8 slots open and a maximum of 20 slots to fill. It just depends on how many writers we get. Also depends on quality of submission. And then we start the process of writing. So we have a meeting, we go over what people are going to work on. I periodically keep in touch with them to make sure that they're making progress. I encourage teamwork. We have the best ideas when we work together. It's so easy to go off into a corner. And it's all pushing towards the start of playtests, which start in early spring before conventions are going. And we just then go through a playtest cycle where we're making edits, we're adjusting based on player feedback, all to hit May. Because as soon as we get to May, we have to print it and take it to Origins.
Oof.
So it doesn't sound like much, but the primary parts of the job, editing, proofreading, brainstorming, creating characters, making sure we have good stat blocks, making sure that authors are supported, making sure that they feel like if they're running into troubles, they have somebody to go to, answering questions there. And then also behind the scenes, trying to get the stuff published. And so we work really hard to try to make everything ready, make it as easy as possible for Catalyst to format and get out the door and get to people's hands. In fact, we've got a big mission pack coming out soonish. I'm not sure exactly on the timeline, but I believe it's planned for before Gen Con.
Can you maybe let your marketing director know so we can help promote that for you?
Yes, I will.
That's news for me.
So what's going on there? We did the Legends of the Shadows at Gen Con, which is the big event. In fact, you've played in it, right?
Yeah. Well, I
you've been
played last year. This year I won't be able to.
So you've been one of our legends. So we take people that have really contributed to Shadowrun over the years. We've also had RJ and Jason Hardy and Tom Dowd, Mike Mulvihill as players in it. So you as a player can sign up and buy a ticket and play with these legends and take part in a specially crafted and curated adventure for you to go through, which should have huge ripple effects within the meta plot. So the missions from 2022 and 2023 are nearly through publishing. So I've seen the final drafts. So they are about ready to go. It's just a matter of pulling the trigger.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for that. So we'll get some marketing going for that. So you can get your copy of the adventures and run them from home. And then I just put in chat, you had talked about writing for and how many writers you're looking for. So anything they should know about that link and the info in there to submit for being a missions writer?
Yeah. We've got a couple different, we always have a ton of needs, right? It's close to volunteer as we can get. So if you're interested in writing, and maybe you're not selected in the first year, we have need of playtesters. We have need of proofreaders, things that'll help you basically see the plumbing behind it, and that way it puts you in a better situation for the following year. But what we need, we're looking for what level of contribution you want to make, and we're also looking for a writing sample. That writing sample is really just write me a scene of something interesting that feels Shadowrun.
Hmm.
It's got Matrix, it's got Astral, it's got all the things that really pull out that punk aspect, um, and submit it as a writing sample. And we've got some basic things to help you, like uh, we use a specific format that helps GMs. I give you that information. It doesn't have to be specially formatted or fancy. I'm just looking for your ability to write. I'm looking for your ability to follow directions, and I'm looking for that you know the lore, that you know the things that make it interesting.
Cool. Awesome. Now, one of the things that at cons and panels and stuff like that we get asked a lot is like, how do you get into writing for a company like Catalyst, or writing for Battletech, writing for Shadowrun, or whatever? And a lot of the answers that I hear is start with the demo team. Can you explain why? And I mean, we've touched on it with Shadowrun missions, but let's get into it.
Yeah. So why start with the demo team? I think there's a couple different ways to write for Shadowrun specifically, right? You've got RJ's story where he followed Jason around and nagged him until he finally got a shot, um, right? Like that's definitely one way. Um, the other way is you show that you know the world, you show that you love the world, and you contribute to the demo team, and you also see the format that we work in, which is really an interesting situation, right? A demo convention game ends up looking like 3.5 hours. You're going to have a random table. You don't know what you're going to get. And you have to make something that's fun for everybody and make sure that everybody gets um, an, an easy amount of screen time, right? Like, so that they feel like they're part of that story with everybody else. Um, and so, starting with the demo team means that you're seeing that format, you're seeing the problems that happen at the table, and when you go to write, like you're writing a much more cohesive adventure. And what I do is I take the folks that really do a good job, like they understand the nitty gritty of publishing, right? Like a lot of publishing is, can you hit deadlines, can you hit word count, um, really just really tactical stuff. And if you're good at it, then I just take your name and I go to Jason and I go to RJ. I'm like, this person is really good. We should really consider like bringing them on as a full freelancer.
Cool.
And so it's an easy path because you get support. Um, when you're a freelancer, you're a freelancer. You're kind of like, go write some stuff. Here's your word count. Make sure it's good. Make sure it's as edited as you can before you turn it in. With missions, like I'm here, I've got a couple other people that help me as well as volunteers that will give you feedback on what you write. They're going to review your work, and we're going to help you be the best writer you can be.
So it's a great, like, if you're just breaking into freelancing in the industry and stuff like that, and you need a little bit more of a handhold, or you want that support, then it's there, which is really cool.
Yeah, honestly, the best thing I can always tell people is like, if you're interested in writing, the first thing you need to do is just go write. Like, it doesn't matter if it's being published or not. In fact, the funny thing is, I wrote a mission before I was ever writing a mission, if that makes any sense. I was like, I want to write something and go see what it looks like. And so I wrote something and I handed it to a friend. I'm like, hey, could you run this and just give me feedback on it? And he ran it and he tore it a new one. Like it absolutely shredded it. Um, but it told me that this was something I could do. And then I just continued to write every day and work on it uh, because it gets easier. Those first few years are hard. Um, Sitting down in front of a blank page is probably one of the most traumatic experiences you have because you can just stare at that thing for hours and
Hmm.
it's still going to be blank when you're done.
Yeah, yeah. I know one of the things that Randall and Lauren say a lot is, what makes you a writer? Just write. Just keyboard bang. You can fix it later, but you got to write in order to be a writer. So
Yeah, I can't count the amount of words I've thrown away, just because I wrote it, but I looked at it later and I'm like, this doesn't work for the motif I was looking for. The the specific guards aren't really interesting, so they got to go. I got to get something more interesting in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with missions, we've been to Origins now, not Gen Con yet. So without spoilers, what can we expect from missions this year?
So we're in the first year of 2083. We're in ye olden times. We just had whatever the year was, as in like season 1, season 2, season 3. Like seasons 5 through 8 were Chicago. Um, this time, what we're trying to do is tie it in with the meta plot. So it's 2083 now, and every mission that we produce is basically encompasses a 2-week period, and we're in New Orleans or Nawlens. As is preferred the preferred pronunciation. So a world that's really just steeped in magic and toxic environments and creatures and voodoo and all of these really interesting things. Like that's our backdrop. And from there on out, it's you dealing with criminal elements. We really deeply touch with the mafia and the Zobop. The Zobop being the much more voodoo centric organized crime. We've got some dragons, although not so much this season, but in New Orleans, we are definitely going to have a few dragons that you get to meet up with. Some free spirits that come and hire you to get revenge. Like, honestly, just some really fun stuff that's sort of all over the board, like a bit of high fantasy, a definite sprinkling of punk. We have a couple. We don't use the Big Ten corporations. I wanted to give a little bit more spotlight to some of the corporations that don't get nearly as much love. So we ended up creating 2 fashion houses that are in a shadow war, and you're being hired between these 2 fashion houses.
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, something a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So, basically, and then explain how a season works in terms of, like, I know you can start with a base level runner or get a pre-gen and then level them up kind of with karma along the way until a certain point. So can you...
We open that wide up.
Really?
Yeah, you can. This I'm waiting for this to bite me, to be honest. Like, you know. If you played in 2081, which was set in Seattle, what we have in 2081, we wrote 24 base missions. So the things that are in the main set of arcs. We also produced 3 prime missions and 1 holiday mission. And we also had 20 CMPs, which are convention mission packs. So they're very specific 4 mission arcs that are really tightly coupled together, create a really cohesive story. And so if I look at just 2081, we're looking at, what, close to 40 missions? Maybe more. Maybe my math's
Wow.
odd. 44 plus another 7. So yeah, a lot of missions. So you can take all that character that ran through all of those and you can bring them to New Orleans because that's 2 years later.
Wow.
And so it's a living campaign. At the end of every run, we're going to give you rewards. We're going to give you karma to spend on your character. We're going to give you new yen to, well, pay rent, but also spend on your character. It turns out rent is a really important thing. And then there's occasionally some additional rewards. Like I think in one of the missions, they gave you a dock wagon membership,
Wow.
which sometimes can be beneficial if you get shot a
That's
lot.
valuable.
And so you apply to your character, and then you can modify and level up, and then bring them to the next game and continue forward. So yeah, right now I think I did the math, and if somebody had done all the missions up until 2083, I think they're sitting at close to 300 karma. And about that 100,000 new yen, like 180,000 new yen minus
Wow.
assumed low lifestyle.
Well, I have something to do with my copious amounts of free time now.
So yeah,
I miss the days where I would go to Origins or Gen Con and literally my entire con was playing through all 6 Shadowrun missions. That does
Yeah,
not
we
happen
expanded
anymore.
it. Yeah,
Huh?
Danny. Well, we expanded it. So we do. It used to be 6 missions and then 4 CMP and a 4 CMP. So we would do what
Oh yeah,
16 missions
I
per
forgot
con.
about the CMPs. Yeah.
And so we've moved that. Or sorry, that was 14 missions per con. Now we're doing 8 SRMs, and we're doing 4 CMPs and 4 CMPs. So we have 2 more. And I was talking to Bob Volgrek, who is one of the leads for the demo team, specifically on the Shadowrun side. And he's like, can we do more? And I was like, my sanity will not allow any more.
Wow.
It takes a lot to edit, and it takes a lot to playtest all these
Yeah.
and make sure that we have the best quality missions for our players and GMs.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So, for you, we kind of did the whole missions, the start with the demo team, moving up to writing and stuff like that, and now you're a freelancer as well.
I am.
So
It's a
what books have you worked on leading up to your
oh,
latest release?
oh God, I've worked on so many at this point. I'm a workaholic. Don't do what I do. Is the short answer. My first thing I worked on, which was uncredited, was Collapsing Now,
Ooh.
where I worked with Danny, because Danny and I had done a lot of stuff for the Seattle missions. To talk about the Shadow Chapters, which is that union of Shadowrunners that operates behind the scene. It's not really a union; it's just sort of a more of a good shorthand. But I've worked on Body Shop, I've worked on Hack and Slash, I've worked on uh, Needle's Eye, worked on uh, the New Orleans source book, Easy Come Easy Go. Um, there's a couple that are coming out soon that I worked on, Smooth Operations and Tarnished Star. I also worked on Wildlife. I did a few of the chapters
Cool.
there. So yeah, a little bit of everything. If anything that seems interesting that comes across, which let's be honest, it's Shadowrun. Everything is super interesting. I tend to make a pitch, and I curse myself when I make the pitch. But I have so much fun, and it's such a blast to work on these things.
Awesome. Well, your most recent just came out, what, 2 weeks ago?
It
Maybe.
came out the Monday before Origin, so I think it's 3 weeks now or 4 weeks.
Okay. All right. So about a month ago, is That Old Voodoo, and that was released as PDF only, correct?
It is a ebook release. Will only be PDF. It's about 20 to 25 pages
Okay.
roughly.
And what was the like? How did this project come into the works, and how did you get assigned to it? Like, tell us the story.
So the ebook line is kind of interesting. Uh, the it, it goes in fits and spurts. If you've noticed, like you'll see a couple ebooks and then nothing for a bit. What had happened was we had sort of decided to do New Orleans as the SRM, but the most recent updates of New Orleans had been like second edition.
Oh,
um, it had been a while, and I was like, we really need to update the setting. If nothing else, for the authors to work off of, right? So if we're writing SRMs, to be able to produce something that's consistent means that we have to all work from the same source material. So I went to Jason and I was like, I want to do this as a pitch, and here's this ebook I want to do. Can I get 35,000 words to do it? And he's like, well, ebooks are limited to 15,000 words. I was like, but there's a lot I want to fit in there. So we haggled a bit, and he won. So um, the New Orleans came out in January of this year, and at 15,000 words. And there was a whole section of Voodoo that I wasn't able to fit in, and so I made a second pitch and said, like, well, if I can't fit Voodoo into the book on New Orleans, can I make just a Voodoo book? At which point, both Cliff, who's the ebook line dev, and Jason said, sure, let's go do it. And I was like, I kind of want to mention that, like, I'm not a practitioner of Voodoo. We might want somebody to read over what I write to make sure that it's not offensive.
fair, fair.
Um, and we were able to find a sensitivity reader to make sure that what we produced was in line with the actual religion of Voodoo. And so yeah, I made the pitch, got the okay from Catalyst to go produce 15,000 words, and we put together what I think is a fun ebook that takes some of the aspects of magical traditions and really pushes it into the mechanics of the game. And so, sort of it as an example, magical like trinkets. Typically, you think of them as alchemical preps or things that you prepare by doing a spellcasting ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Within the voodoo world, that's much more of you're talking to the spirits that inhabit everything, the unseen world, and you're trying to convince the spirits that are within the maybe you have a wooden doll that you have hanging at your neck, and you're convincing that spirit within it to aid you in the future, and so you're investing it with a spirit as opposed to
Ooh,
investing it with magic.
neat. I like that thought. That's interesting.
Yeah, so the mechanics are different. So if you want to play voodoo and you want to get really in depth with it, you don't command spirits because the Loa are you worship the Loa, and so instead you ask the Loa for favors.
Ooh,
So you summon them, and then you have to convince them that what you're doing is aligned with them.
I like that. Ooh, that's neat. That gives me some ideas. Cool. Awesome. All right, so you can check out That Old Voodoo. I've got the link. It is live on the Catalyst store now. So that's right here. Boop.
That please buy it. Please review it. Let me know what you think. I would love to convince the powers that be that we need more traditions. I think traditions really make the world feel a little thicker and more interesting, where people's beliefs shape their magic.
Awesome. So you mentioned some of the ones that you're going to be working on that are coming up for release and stuff like that. And anything else that you've got going on for Shadowrun or writing in general, or anything else you want to say or promote before we move to questions?
Um, the big thing I can always suggest is get involved. I'm assuming that you love the worlds that you're invested in, whether that be BattleTech or Shadowrun, and the more you contribute to that world, the more you're welcoming others. Then we're creating worlds that we can all have fun in, that have a little bit more flavor than if just a couple of us contribute. So um, even if you can't or don't have the time to write, definitely check out the link that was posted earlier to sign up as a writer. We are still looking for playtesters and proofreaders to help us out. Um, and I will also review your pitches if you ever want to try to work on things for Hollow Street. Like I definitely donate my time to things I love.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for everything you do, Aaron. You're
Glad to
very
do it.
generous with your time. All right, let's switch on over to questions. If for our chat, if you have any, feel free to drop them in chat. Dave, thank you for moderating. I appreciate you as always. So Edward Mayer has, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. He asks, what's the most broken or insane character or run you've seen during your time with SRM?
Um, the the broken characters, like we have, they're innumerable. And we try to. One of the old things within SRM was really trying to protect the GM. And so that meant like banning some things that were potentially interesting as your character, but would utterly break the game. First and foremost is always HMHVV, right? So the human metahuman vampiric virus, uh, fantastic, so flavorful, and then you could infect your whole team, and some of them could go feral. So it's banned. So there's a lot of things we end up banning because they're broken. They create not fun at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, the new mantra has been like let's really try hard to allow as much as possible. And that has also bit me a few times. Uh, we have I can think of one person's. Tom has a character named Becky. Becky is a Naga who has an additional 6 arms. um, and is an absolute tank. And I have thrown prime missions at her, and I cannot touch her. She's just indestructible, and that is clearly broken. Like there should be some threat that I can put in there, but if you apply all the rules, you will create something utterly broken.
Wow.
For broken runs, one of my favorite sort of stories is I was running the finale for season 10, which was in Neo Tokyo, and my players were the Pirates of Pizzazz, which, if you are familiar with the people, the group that does Trolling Thunder, um, and this year they were the Cult of Phil. But they were my players, and they had an airship, and they completely took the mission and bent it so badly that I couldn't get it back on rails. um, the main crux of that one was your Mr. Johnson was supposed to die in the second scene, but they just put him on the airship and they flew away. So, well, that one got out of the window. So we ended up going on an even weirder, different adventure.
Cool.
So,
Neat.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, they're a blast. That's so fun. Dave crossed it off for me, but I'm gonna say it anyway. He crossed it off because I already answered it, but we're gonna do it anyway. Is the author solicitation for Shadowrun missions open to all or limited? And it is.
It is
open
all.
to all.
Yeah. We've gotten some people that have never read Shadowrun before apply. And yeah, we do our best to help. If you are not familiar with Shadowrun, by all means, you could definitely apply to be a writer. I do expect that you will take the time to learn the rule system and start learning the lore. And I do provide some tools to help you dig into lore as well.
Awesome. Couple of Kickstarter questions. Zach Mowry asks, there seems to be some QC issues with the Innersphere battle armor. Is Catalyst aware? I've seen one post about it. I don't know how widespread it is just yet. If you know something I don't, or Dave, I know is one of the people that feeds me stuff that I'm unaware of, let us know and we'll get it figured out and come up with a game plan for it. If it's a one-off or something like that, like I said earlier, we are doing a parts replacement listing for QML so that if, two of your mechs come back funky or something like that, they can send you those 2 mechs from the force packs or whatever. So, I guess I need more information on that one. So we'll see what we can do about that as I research more. VFXX, is this audiobook one of the Kickstarter rewards? If not, any update on those? No, this is not one of, I don't believe so, that it's one of the Kickstarter rewards. We do have several of those ready, but we are coming up with the best way to release them. Should it be through our website? Should it be through, is there a third-party way to do it? We could just drop the files. It's going to be a big file. But we could drop the files somewhere specific, but like a Google folder or something like that. But the files are too large to upload into Backerkit directly. So we're coming up with a game plan for those and should have something soon. Not all of them are done, but I think at least one of them is. If not more. Zafir, hi Zafir. Can we get an international shipping update for the Battletech Kickstarter on the Kickstarter, as lots of us aren't on the Catalyst Discord? Yes. We have a backer update being put together with some of the news that I gave earlier as well. Again, we're just waiting from QML to get a final little, yep, this is correct, or here's the latest update on X, or whatever the case may be. I'm going to throw a little sass because there's a couple things that apparently, when I mentioned them last week, wasn't quite right. I don't know which ones they are. But Tyler was on the call and Lauren was like, I don't know where she got that info. He's the one that gave me every bit of info I gave last week. So screw you, Lauren. So Lauren gave me a little bit of an update before he sent a Skype message before the call. But even that now, I'm like, I don't want to say it until I hear from QML now because I just don't trust. just don't trust. So as soon as we have a word, we'll get a backer update out. Dr. Death 43, how soon will we get an update for Merc store credit? Good question. I do need to poke Talon on that because he has the list. I know we ran into something where we were hoping that that list would be able to get uploaded, and it looks like it can't, so it has to be manual entry, which is dumb, but hey, that's where we are, and if we need to hire part-timers or bring on a part-timer or something to do that, then that's fine, but I need to check with Talon on that game plan. And actually, because I forgot to last week, I'm going to stall for a moment while I send him a quick message so I don't forget. Status update on Merc's shipping store. There. So now I should be able to get an update for you guys for next week, hopefully. Turbo Turtle asks, is there any time frame for all Kickstarters to go out? We don't know. It's over when it's over. I know we're still on wave 1, but should be getting them a new report soon, I think, for wave 2, or maybe that's already in process. I'm not sure. But again, as they have things ready and as they're able to organize, they're getting that stuff out. I know that is almost finalized for everywhere. Battletech questions, general questions. Any word on the legendary battle mats releases? I don't. That is something I can copy and paste real quick to Ray and see if he's around. He might get an answer to me quickly before the end of the stream, but I'll at least copy and paste it to him so you can see it coming. All right. Madmurph 13, is there a Battletech Missions submission group? Yes, no?
Yes. So not missions yet. I know that there's some talk of trying to do it, and I think we'll probably talk more about it at this convention. With James is the one, I think one of the Jameses, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's currently
it is digging into it.
Yeah, I know. James has something for missions put together, but there's some things that up the chain want to be reviewed, and kind of like realign on. So there isn't it's not a public thing that Catalyst is really supporting just yet, but soon would be an answer for that, soonish.
Yeah, and I know the CDT is interested in more living campaigns as well, like just understanding what that means, because I've had a couple initial discussions on that side as well. So I think there's definitely interest in trying to create these living campaigns for all of the different IP. It just takes a lot of work, and it takes time.
Bill Bales asked, is there a similar process for becoming a Battletech writer? Yes and no. There's a ton of different ways. Everyone's kind of had a different experience with it. One of the things that we're doing for Gen Con, we aren't live streaming at the booth this time because most of our audience is at Gen Con, but we are going to take advantage of the fact that so many people for Catalyst are there. And we're going to do recorded content that we can then release for the next weeks and months after the fact. So I'll be doing a bunch of author interviews and stuff, and that's one of the things that I plan to ask is, how did you start writing for Catalyst? Because there's people I have heard that it's the demo team got them their foot in the door, and there's people that knew someone that got an intro, or they hung around the booth until people were like, "What do you work for us?" So there's a ton of different ways that it can happen. And there actually at Gen Con is also going to be a panel for fiction and how to write for Catalyst for Shadowrun and Battletech. So that will be there. You can look that up if you're gonna attend also. But we are planning on doing what we can to record that, or record a separate thing with John to talk about that.
I know on the Battletech side, one of the main ways to sort of get a foot in the door has been the Shrapnel magazine. That seems to be a pretty common path for a lot of people.
Shrapnel's a great way to do it too. Those submissions are open as well. Shadowrun questions. Jason Mallory asks, how many source books and ebooks are scheduled for SR6 for the rest of the year? I know this answer. Well, unless you know other things that I don't, Aaron, because apparently that isn't fixed yet. But for
The ebook line is always weird.
yeah, the ebook line is a little bit, that one I'm not as in for, but I do have let me find my, so for fiction, theoretically, don't hold me to this, guys, but theoretically, there's supposed to be almost a fiction release per week until the end of the year. So here's what's coming by the end. I'm not even going to give you dates yet because I don't want to lie. In the Shadow of the Dragon, Let's Slip the Dogs of War, The Core, A Skulk of Foxes, Shrapnel 18, Hounds at Bay, Heavy as the Head, Trial of Birthright, A Night in the Woods, Shrapnel 19, Honor and Glory Omnibus. And then for Shadowrun, there's Shadow Borders, Rules of the Kaido Club, Dark Synergy, Edge Zone, Magic Machine, and Mayhem, Offbeat, Through the Decades, and Base Crackers. And then for Shadowrun main, I had this written down somewhere, and I don't remember which group I put it in.
Smooth Operations,
Tarnished Star, I think,
Tarnished Star.
Last two
Yeah.
for the year. Because it'll be September and then November. But then also, I believe in August, I think, is going to be SR1. It's going to be available at Gen Con, but then for retail release, I think is August. And then we're also going to do a release for the dice trays and sets that I designed with Fanroll. Those will be released after Gen Con as well. The Scroll, Echo's Scroll, will be released.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So that's everything I can think of for Shadowrun. I'm still getting the rest of the Battletech stuff that's not fiction organized with Ray, so that I can communicate that a little bit better. The hard part sometimes it's harder to anticipate, and I don't have full context of this yet, but sometimes it's harder to anticipate the Battletech releases because we know when we send them to manufacturing, and then we can predict that based on the manufacturing and the shipping that we think X is going to arrive in September, but then we're really just waiting and watching the receiving reports to see when that happens. And then once that happens, we're trying to build that process out where it's like, cool, it's there. Let's give it a month for marketing and then it can go out the door. So we're trying to build that a little bit more, but there's a little bit more flexibility where it's like, we sure hope this is going to be released in September. Unknown. Yeah, that's the news on that. And now I clicked away from my questions and I'm lost. There we go. Bill Bales, where's a great place to start with Shadowrun? As a game and fiction. Let's answer that as a game and as fiction. I'll let you go first.
The Trilogy of Power, the original sort of trilogy for fiction is still one I would absolutely go to. It's super fun. It has so much flavor. More recently, I would say anything by Russell Zimmerman has been a super blast to read, and the omnibuses that they've been producing lately, the short story collections, really give you a wider view. So I would say any of those three are a really good place to start in fiction.
In terms of the game, for me, it's the beginner box, especially if you're intimidated by crunch. It was a great place for me to start, and then honestly, the more I played, the more it's come. I'm still not perfect with the rules, and even though I love Shadowrun so much, there's so much I don't know. It was the lore for me that got me into it. In terms of the lore, I really like Phaedra Weldon's Dark Resonance. It helped me understand technomancy better, and because to me, computers are magic. So and they have feelings, and most of those feelings are rage. So, for me, that helped me visualize the Matrix a little bit more and the resonance realms and things like that. So I really love that one. R.L. King, their books are great, and Jennifer Brozek, I enjoy those books too.
Yeah.
All right, then I've got other questions. Lorcan, no, I'm not asking you about asking about cannibalism. Edward S. Can you clarify what the canon character prominence upgrade will entail. When I know, you can know. We've kind of asked that too. We were like, what does that mean? Does that mean like that it's more than just a name in a book? Like there's a more key part of the story? Does it mean like a prominence in terms of like a higher military grade? Like, or what does it mean? We don't know. So we'll figure it out. Bear asks, are there any plans to look into the frankly ridiculous costs of international postage on your web store? We're constantly, like, this has been something we've been pursuing for a long time. Not only are we finally been able to move things forward a little bit with that, which kind of changed everything beforehand too, but finding the right hubs and partnerships. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, that in addition to the red tape country-wise that we have to figure out, we are having conversations with different distributors. Nothing is signed yet, so I can't say like who, but we are having those conversations and keep pushing it forward. We're trying. It's not as fast as any of us would like, but we want to. And one of the things, just so our international viewers know as well, like I get a pulse from my marketing team on like what are the most commonly asked questions on socials and stuff like that, and it's always international shipping. We know, we want to fix it. We like, it helps us. Why wouldn't we want to fix it? It's just been super slow going, and I don't know why. I'm not in those conversations, but we're trying. And then last minute questions, Spirit of Fire. When Lauren was on, he mentioned y'all might look into making the reunification patch available to those who don't have the chance to shake Randall's hand or anyone else's. Any word on that? Yeah, we, so far it's been like as people reach out or something. Like there's been a couple events I've gone to where I just drop any facial expression and pretend to be Randall for a moment and then shake someone's hand, and I'm like, cool, I'll get Ray or Randall to mail you one. I reach out, and if there's something we can do for you, maybe what we can do is toward the end of this year, do like a online event and send out the remaining patches we have or something like that. But we'd like everyone to have an opportunity to interact. So, yeah. Karamindy, Rem, please, can you poke someone over at CGL about restocking plus size shirts? Worried about wearing out the one I was able to get. Yeah, I'll poke again. I know that there's a couple of things that our customer service person has gotten like out of stock requests for. That's something if you've been waiting for something to get back in stock, send an email to the online store, because the more we can harass people about it, because we're like, hey, we've gotten 85 messages asking us to restock X, then we can get on people more for that. But I'll continue to poke and follow up, and we are sending that list weekly to the person who orders. So, all right, that's all the questions I have. We have 1 minute to spare, so thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you guys for coming every week and hanging out and asking lots of good questions. Aaron, it's so good to hang out with you. Look, like I forced you to hang out with me for an hour and 15 minutes.
Not much of a force. Like, and we'll see each other again at Gen Con,
Yay!
and hopefully we'll see a bunch of people at Gen Con that are in the chat.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see everyone. So it's really great to talk to you guys, and we'll see you next week here on Tuesday Newsday. I made a new outro card, so ooh and ah over it.